He was staring at his laptop. The screen was open. The work was waiting, but his mind was somewhere else. This happened every single day. And the worst part? He didn't know why. His name was Daniel. He was 27 years old. He lived in a small apartment in Manchester, England. He had a good job and good people around him. From the outside, everything looked fine. But on the inside, Daniel was falling apart. He couldn't finish one task without checking his phone. He couldn't read one page without losing his thoughts. He couldn't sit still for 10 minutes before his brain pulled him in 10 different directions. And every night, he sat on the edge of his bed, exhausted, thinking the same painful thought. What is wrong with me? Maybe you've asked yourself that same question. Maybe you've sat down to work or study, and within minutes, your mind was gone. Not because you were lazy, not because you didn't care, but because focusing felt impossible. Here is what nobody tells you. You are not broken. You are not weak. You were just never taught the one habit that makes focus possible. That is exactly what this story is about. Stay with me. By the end, you will see focus in a completely different way. Daniel had always been this way. In school, his teachers used to say, "Daniel is smart, but he doesn't apply himself." He never fully understood that. He knew he was trying. He just couldn't stay on track. By 25, he got a job at a small marketing company in Manchester. His manager, a kind woman named Claire, believed in him from the start. "You have great ideas, Daniel," she'd say. "Now you just need to follow through." But following through was the hardest thing in the world. He'd start a project with full energy, excited, motivated. But after 30 minutes, his focus would disappear like smoke. He'd check his phone, watch a video, get up for water. And before he knew it, 2 hours were gone and the work was untouched. Deadlines slipped. Mistakes appeared. Claire's voice changed, from warm and encouraging to careful and concerned. One afternoon, she called him into a small meeting room and placed a folder on the table between them. "Daniel," she said quietly, "we've had to redo 3 of your projects this month. Your work is not where it needs to be." His face went hot. "I know," he said. "I'm trying. I really am." "I believe you," Claire said. "But trying isn't enough if the results don't come. I'm putting you on a performance review. If things don't improve in 4 weeks, we may have to let you go." Daniel walked out feeling like the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. That evening, he sat alone in his apartment. His dinner went cold. His phone was face down. He felt too ashamed to call anyone. He opened his laptop and searched, "Why can't I focus?" The results overwhelmed him. ADHD, anxiety, dopamine problems, social media, poor sleep, bad habits. So which one is my problem? He thought. He closed the laptop, and for the first time in a long time, he cried. For weeks passed. Daniel tried everything. He downloaded 5 productivity apps. He made long to-do lists. He set timers. He tried working from cafes. He tried waking up earlier. Nothing worked. Not because the ideas were bad, but because he tried to do everything at once. Every new method lasted 2 days before he abandoned it and moved to the next one. At the end of the 4th week, Claire called him in again. This time, her face was softer, sadder. "I'm sorry, Daniel. We've decided to let you go. This isn't about your character, but the role needs someone who can deliver consistently." He packed his desk into a small cardboard box, a notebook, a coffee mug his mom gave him, a small cactus plant. He walked to the bus stop in the gray Manchester afternoon. The box was light, but he had never felt heavier. At home, he looked at the cactus and thought, "That thing survives with almost nothing. I can't even sit still for an hour." He almost laughed, but he didn't. He spent the next 2 weeks barely leaving his apartment, sleeping late, watching television, telling himself he was resting. But really, he was hiding. Then one afternoon, his friend Ryan called. "Danny, you okay? Haven't heard from you." "I'm fine," Daniel said. "You're not fine," Ryan said simply. "Come for a walk with me tomorrow." Daniel almost said no, but something stopped him. "Okay," he said quietly. "Yeah, okay." The next morning, they walked along the canal path near Ryan's house. It was cold, damp, the kind of English morning that gets into your bones. But the air was fresh. Ryan didn't push Daniel to talk. He just walked beside him, quiet. After a while, Daniel started talking. He told Ryan everything. The job, the focus problems, the shame, the failed apps and lists and timers. Ryan listened without interrupting. Then he said something unexpected. "Can I tell you about my uncle Marcus?" Daniel shrugged. "Sure." Marcus was a builder. Good one. but he could never finish his own house renovations. He'd start a room, get distracted, start another room, never finish either one. For years. Sounds familiar, Daniel muttered. One day, his wife said, "Marcus, just do one wall. Not the room. One wall. That's it. One wall. One wall," Ryan repeated. Something clicked. He did the wall. Next day, another wall. 3 months later, the whole house was done. Daniel was quiet. It wasn't about motivation, Ryan continued. It wasn't about apps or schedules. It was about making the task so small that his brain stopped fighting it. Daniel looked at the canal water moving slowly below them. One wall, he said to himself. One thing, Ryan said. Every day? Just one. That night, Daniel sat at his kitchen table for a long time. He thought about all the complicated systems, all the big promises he'd made to himself. Then he took out a plain piece of paper. He didn't write a to-do list. He just wrote one thing. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., I will sit down and do one thing. For 25 minutes. Only that. Nothing else. He folded the paper and put it in his coffee mug. And he went to sleep. At 8 a.m. the next morning, Daniel sat down at his kitchen table. He put his phone in the other room. He opened his laptop. He chose one task, updating his resume. Just that. He set a timer for 25 minutes. And he started. At minute 4, his mind wandered. He thought about breakfast, about a message he forgot to send. He almost got up, but he looked at the timer. 21 minutes left. One wall, he thought. Just stay. He stayed. At minute 12, his brain settled. Not completely, but enough. Words came. Ideas came. The timer went off. He sat back and looked at what he'd done. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. It was something. He stood up, made tea, and rested for 5 minutes. Then came back and did it again. That was day 1. Day 2 was harder. He nearly didn't sit down. He told himself it was pointless. But he saw the paper by the coffee mug. And he sat down anyway. Day 3 was a little easier. By day 7, something had shifted. Not dramatically. Not like in movies where everything suddenly becomes perfect. But quietly. Steadily. He noticed that after 25 minutes, he often kept going. Not because he forced himself, but because his brain had warmed up. Like a cold engine that needed time before it could run smoothly. He started applying for jobs. 1 application per session. He started reading again, 1 chapter a day. He started cooking real meals. Small things. All of them are small. But together, they began to add up. 3 weeks later, a company called Bright Path Digital in Leeds called. They liked his application. Could he come in for an interview? Yes, he said. Absolutely. He sat down that afternoon. 25 minutes. 1 question at a time. He prepared. The interview went well, but Daniel didn't know that yet. He stood on the pavement outside the building in Leeds. The sky was clearing. A little pale winter sun came through. He called Ryan. How did it go? Ryan answered immediately. I don't know, Daniel said. But I felt calm. I actually felt calm. That's new, Ryan said. Yeah, Daniel agreed. It is. 2 days later, Bright Path Digital offered him the position. Daniel sat very still when he heard the news. He didn't jump around. He just sat there and breathed. He thought about that night 6 weeks ago. The cold dinner. The closed laptop. The question, what is wrong with me? Now he knew the answer. Nothing was wrong with him. His brain wasn't broken. He wasn't lazy. He had just been trying to do too much at once, demanding that his mind run a marathon before it had learned to walk. The one habit that fixed everything was not complicated. It didn't require an app or a perfect morning routine. It was this. Do one thing. For 25 minutes. Every single day. Without distraction. Just one wall. On his first day at Bright Path Digital, Daniel arrived early. He sat at his new desk. Took a breath. Choose one thing to do first. And he started. For the first time in years, his mind stayed exactly where he needed it. Here is what Daniel's story teaches us. We live in a world that pulls our attention in 100 directions every minute. Notifications, news, messages, videos, noise everywhere. And we wonder why we can't focus. But here is the truth most people miss. Focus is not something you have or don't have. Focus is a muscle. It gets stronger when you train it. It gets weaker when you don't. The problem is, most people try to lift too much weight on the very first day. They plan for 4 hours of deep work. They make enormous lists. They demand perfection immediately. And when they fail, they think the problem is them. It is not them. It is the approach. The one habit that fixes focus is simple. Pick one thing. Sit down. Set a timer for 25 minutes. Do only that thing. No phone. No switching. No distractions. Just 25 minutes. One thing. One wall. When the timer ends, rest. Then go again. Do this every day. Not perfectly. Some sessions will feel hard. Your mind will wander. That is okay. You bring it back. Again and again. And slowly, something will change. Your mind will feel quieter. More in control. You will start finishing things. And finishing things feels so good that you want to do it again. That is how Daniel changed his life. Not through a miracle. Not through one big moment. Through 25 minutes at a time. One small wall at a time. So here is your one question for today. What is your one thing? Not your whole list. Not your 10 goals. Just one. What is the one thing? If you gave it 25 minutes right now, could move your life forward. Find it. Write it down. Tomorrow morning, sit down and begin. You don't have to fix everything today. You just have to build one wall. Then another. Then another. Until one day, you look around and realize you built something real. Something you are proud of. Something entirely yours. Your focus is not gone. It was never gone. It was just waiting for you to begin. Start today. 25 minutes. One thing. One wall.